Hello and welcome to this week's Scriptcase webinar. My name is Jamie Oates and I am your host today. Today's topic is the styling of applications within Scriptcase. So as you may know, Scriptcase comes with the possibility to add your own themes, button styles and much more. So we're going to have a look at some aspects of that today, but really the main part is that we're just going to create a project. So if I'll start off, I'll create a new project. I'm going to go ahead and create a blank project and I'll call this project styles. The description, how to style your various applications. Okay, so that is basically the description of this week's webinar, and with that of course we can add our own custom icons and images and so on. So I'm going to go ahead and do that as well. So I have some nice icons here to add. So for the project, which you see the general images, and here let me pick here the Punkist that I have. Okay, so that is then going to be the icon for this week's project, and with that then we can go next. So for the database, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the samples database. So you haven't already created the samples project, which you would have to have created to have access to this database already. So when we use this comes with Scriptcase. So when you generate the samples template or project that is available within Scriptcase, you will also have that database available. So here I will leave English and go next. So for the style today, let's go with Blueberry and click create. Okay, so within our project, we're going to start off with probably the best application within the arsenal, and that will be the blank application. Okay, so I'm going to call this one blank, drag and drop. Okay, and I go create. And then for this application, basically, I'm just going to show you how we can actually add our own content into the blank application, because it is one of the I would say most important applications that we have. So basically what we can do is, if I open up, for instance, the jQuery website, like opening up a new tab, and then here, and it's https://jQuery.com, and it's actually jQuery UI that we want. Okay, and here for instance we have some items here. So here we have the sortable option, which we can use, toggle options, effects that we can all apply, sliders. So pretty much anything from here we could actually take that into our own application. So here we have a sortable application, which allows us then to sort our objects. So we can copy this from here. We have some examples here as well as the documentation. So if we view here the source, and then what I could do is I could just copy this, for instance, copy that, and then return back to my Scriptcase. And if I add here, for instance, the URL, so https://jQueryui.com, and then it's the sortable, and then we can add our closed PHP tag here, and then we actually want to open it again, because we're going to place HTML content here, and then if I paste that content in here, we have then our sortable element. So I can just go ahead and run that now, and then within our blank application, just like we had just now on the jQuery website, we will have the sortable element available within our application. So here we can see that then, we can drag and drop, and we can use that then within our own project and integrate that quite easily. So the blank application is quite powerful. Let me go ahead and create another blank application. So this time I will call it the select input. So blank underscore select input, and I'll go create. Okay, so this application, I'm just going to copy and paste the whole application here, and then what I'll do is I'll explain it quickly. Okay, so we have here our typical HTML document layout. We have here our scripts that we're calling. We have our CSS styling, and here we then have our body, which includes a basic input form, which is a very simple drop menu, as we're going to, well, not drop menu, but telephone verification, as we're going to see. It basically ends up being a drop menu there as well. So if I close this, let me just get rid of that entirely. Okay, so that's gone entirely. And then here within our browser, for instance, if I add a phone number in there, it tells you then straight away the phone number. And if I then add another one, and there you see it tells us then the country code. And we can verify that also, and it will tell us whether the phone number is valid or invalid. I'll verify again. And that's telling me it's an invalid phone number, which it well could be. I really have no idea. But they are basically numbers that we can then enter, and then the number is then validated with the script here from Cloudflare, well, the CDN script that we're using here. Okay, so it's just a basic example that we could basically use any kind of code within the blank application. Okay, so the styling limitations within the blank application are basically limitless. We can add our own HTML code, our own blank, websites, pages, and link them into our project. So let me go ahead now. If I go ahead and create a new application, and this time if I create a control application, and we call this control check radio, and create that. Okay, so within the control application, you may know that we then create our own forms. So this has no fields by default, we need to add them ourselves. So if I go ahead and run this, it will actually give me an error message saying that the form fields have been undefined. So I can close that. So I need to define the form fields first. So here what I'm going to do is add 2 fields. Now the first one I will add as a checkbox, and then the second field as a radio field. Okay, so here I'll say button or field 1, and field 2. Okay, and we can just call this checkbox, and then the next one here we can just call this one radio. Okay, so I'll go create, and our 2 fields will be added here. So for the radio, I can just add here a manual lookup, and we're just going to add yes no in here. Yes and Y, insert, and then the no and N, and then we can insert that also, save that, and then for here field 1, which is then the checkbox, we can add here a manual lookup again, and here again I will add here yes, and insert that, and we can add a maybe, and so that's an M, and a no with N as the value. Okay, so if I insert that and then run this application again, we'll have our checkbox and a radio field. So within our field values here, we can of course change how this block is displayed. So for instance here for the radio, I can say here we have 2 columns. Save that, and for the checkbox, well, there we will want 3 columns. And if I run that again, our checkbox and radio buttons will be nicely aligned with our label. Okay, so the styling of script case, again, as we have here, we would basically need to inspect our page ideally, and from there then we can obtain the values that we need to style our individual items. So here we have the input type checkbox ID opt field 1-1. So that's something that we would then want to target so that we can then style our individual elements within script case. So if I come here to events and then on application init, and then here for instance, again I open and close and open my PHP variables here. So we open that up, and then we can start to add our, say, our document information, and it's doc type, HTML, and then HTML, and then style. And then from there we can apply a custom style to our application. Okay, so within the style, we can apply anything to the body, label, and so forth. So if I'm just going to go ahead and copy something that's been pre-prepared here. And I will paste that in here. Basically what we have here is the radio button. Okay, so we have here each of the values. What is it? I need to translate these still. Okay, so with the styling applied here, we can actually see here that we are targeting the input field, the radio type radio, and we are actually not targeting the individual ID. We're actually targeting the field here. So we have, of course, a choice. We could target the ID or the individual field. In this case, we are targeting the field, so that would then apply to all fields. So if I go ahead and run that again, we can see that then our checkbox, as well as the radio buttons or fields, have all then changed according to our own styling. So using the browser inspect feature will be very handy to actually style the various applications. Of course, if we wanted to, we can actually use the inbuilt theming template system and customize as much as possible there. And then of course we can make further customizations within the application using simple CSS. So now another example would be if I create, for instance, another application, and if I again create another control form, and I'll call this colored buttons, and go create. And here again I will create a single field. Here I'll call it sample, and create. Okay, so I'll go ahead and run that. We have here then a basic form with a field and our buttons. Okay, so in this case what we want to do then basically is customize the buttons, for example. And again, as previously, as I was starting to say, is that we would actually have to start using here the inspect feature and target the specific class or ID that we want to actually target. So here for the OK button, exit button, we would then specify the ID that we have here, subform B. And for exit, we have B Sair B. Okay, so if I come here into my sheet, into my control form, sorry, and come to events and on application init again, I can again go ahead and paste the pre-prepared styling that we have here. And here I'm targeting the SC button default, which is the default style of all buttons within Scriptcase. And then I'm also targeting the ID of the button, which we had seen just now. We have there the hover, and that is then applied for the buttons. Okay, so if I then restart that and well run the application, and I'll close here the styling. Okay, so with our form then ready, what I'm going to do is then add some buttons in here. So if I come here to buttons and I'll go new buttons, and I'll say button 1, and I'll give it a call it a PHP button, and again button 2. So I'm just going to add multiple buttons in here. Button 2, again PHP. I'll add say 5 buttons. Button 3. Then we have button 4. And also button 5. Okay, so if I go ahead and run that now, we will see that we now have 5 buttons available within the form, all displayed at the top here. Okay, so they're all like the standard colors. And if I right click these and inspect the values again, we will have here the ID of each of these, SC button 2 underscore top. And what I can then do is come here to the events again on application init and paste in the prepared styling. Okay, so first of all I'm targeting here the SC button default, which is then the class for all buttons, and then also the SC button a 1 top, button 2 top, and the button 3 top. So if I go ahead and run that again, each of those buttons now at the top will be completely styled. Okay, and they can be changed according to your own styling that you apply then within your application. So let me create one more, and what I'll do this time is I'm going to close these applications I've got here, and I will go ahead and copy here the colored buttons, and if I give it here the same name again, paste colored buttons 1, okay, and I will go ahead and copy it again and call it colored buttons 2. So what I'll do is I'll create 2 more. I'll open both of these, and for our first one here, I will adjust here the styling, paste that in there, and run that again, and then we'll see that our buttons are now completely different according to our style, as well as the buttons OK and exit at the bottom. So we could of course continue this, and I could run through the CSS styling for each of this, but I don't think that's really needed for anybody. I think you're actually here to learn more about Scriptcase and see that this is actually possible. So for instance, now in this application here, the field that we have here, I've just grabbed here the class like you might have seen, and if I just place that at the bottom here and specify then the class, paste that there. Okay, if I had copied it, so I have to go back and copy it again, copy here, and then we paste that here. Now I could then remove that. I don't think we really need that. And then for instance, if I add in here, say padding 20 pixels, a color green, and font size, say 34 pics. Okay, and then I can just go ahead and run that, and we will see those changes apply to our field here. See, okay. Okay, so that's quite simple to apply, and all we then need to do is apply our own styling within the back end here, or within the events of Scriptcase, and we can then customize each of the elements within the individual applications. So then we come here to one more, so we have here the colored buttons 2. And again here within the colored buttons 2, I can come here to the events on application init, and I'm just going to paste over the styling that I had there previously, and it's basically just going to change the look and feel of our application just by simply applying some CSS styling within the application. Okay, so just to show that we can actually apply this within any type of application, because so far this is a blank application, and as you may know, a blank application we can create anything. So of course if I open one of those up again, we have here our drag and drop, and of course if I remove everything from here, so if I cut this and run this blank application, it is completely blank. It doesn't display anything at all. It retains all of the Scriptcase functionality in the back end, so it still remains super powerful, and we can do a great deal with it. But without any code within the event here, the application will display nothing at all. So within this application, it is of course very easy to style anything you want, because we code the application as it is. Now within the control form, we generate or create the form fields as we need them. So the next type of application would then of course be a form, for instance. So if I open up here a form, and for the form, if I come here and say, if I just pick the city table and I create that, and then once the city form has been created and is running, we can see then how our default form then looks. Okay, so within this form, again, we can come here to the form events, on application init. And again, what I'll do is I will just copy and paste some CSS styling here. So here again, I am applying styling to all the field labels, which is the SE form label odd. So if I come here, and if I right click on the form label, I can inspect that. And then I have here the ID label city ID. And just above that, I have there the TD class SC form label odd, which is what I am targeting right here. We have then also the SJS input, which is our input field. Okay, so if I go ahead and run that now, we can then see the difference applied to the form application with some basic styling. Okay, so again, what I've done is I've just gone ahead and changed the add new button, the exit button, and we have here the field labels as well as the field entry points. So each of these has been customized and changed according to the CSS styling that I have applied. So this is very easy to apply within any application, and the most important factor is of course using here the right click inspect feature within your browser. So I'm right now using the new Explorer or Microsoft browser, as well as the Firefox browser, which I sometimes think works better. But that's just my opinion. And in general, we can just right click on any object or item element within our page, inspect that, and then from that we can view here the class, and we have that also here within the right hand panel for the styles. And I can see here the complete styling applied to this field, as well as all of those that are related below that. Okay, so within the script case, we see that we can actually customize just about any application, but the one application that was not done for this video initially is the application I will be showing shortly in the next video. So within part 2, I will be showing you a grid application, which is then slightly further customized, not just with CSS styling, but actually the field elements, and then we're adding content within the grid application to actually boost that some more. But before I go ahead and finalize this video and continue then on with part 2, let's just have a quick look at the actual theming options available within Scriptcase. So to actually style all of your applications, other than customizing them within the application itself and applying your own CSS styling, we can apply the various layouts or themes here within the layout application themes within Scriptcase. So here I can then view the theme, I can save it as, and I can actually change this Scriptcase theme as a project theme, as a user theme, or available for project, and then I can give it a simple name and save it. It will then become, okay, this name already exists, so let me go demo 1111, okay, and then save that. Okay, so once this theme has then been saved, Scriptcase will then create a duplicate of this theme, which we can then customize ourselves. And as you'll see in a few moments, it will actually give us then the options to customize the template. Okay, so once we've actually saved it, it automatically gives us then the option to further customize the theme. So in general, I would highly advise to close the theme at this point and view here the options that we have available now. So we saved this in public, and we've called this demo 1111. Okay, so and then we have here the option to edit and advanced mode. So advanced mode was the window we had just a few moments ago, which we then exited out of and came directly here. So in most cases, I would highly advise to actually first edit your theme and apply your overall theming options that you want to apply to your template here. Once you have applied these, it will then apply all of those specifications to your entire template. And then after that, go ahead and visit the advanced edit and then customize the individual applications. This way, all of your settings will be applied globally, and at the same time visiting the basic edit afterwards and then making adjustments could overwrite your customizations that you have applied within the advanced edit. So it would be important to apply them here. And as you can see, from here we can apply the background color, we can change the font size. So I'll change that here to 18, for instance. Change the font size to 18. I can change the font color. I can change the background color. And as you can see, the information is then automatically updated within the window here. I can add a border radius. As you can see, we have here now a slight border radius at the top. We can customize the header, the toolbar, the blocks, and each individual item here is then applied globally to each application type. If I go ahead and save that, and then we can have a quick glance at the advanced options. And then here within the advanced mode or advanced options, we can then check out the individual applications and make customizations on an individual basis, basically. So we have here, for instance, we have here the grid application, the search, refined search, the form, and we can customize individual aspects of our entire application directly here. Okay, so that's actually quite a lot to go through, many options here that can be configured, and we can really change how our application looks for our end users. Okay, so the other layout option is then for our buttons themes. So here we can change the themes of all of our buttons, apply them, add icons, change the layout, how they look, and so forth. So from here we have defined script case buttons. We can go ahead and copy those and then create our own and customize them how we please. The other options are for the HTML templates, the CSS menu, menu icons. So these three that we have here, HTML templates for instance, we are able to create templates for the header and footer of our applications. Now we can store these for a user basis, for a personal basis, or for a public basis, and then we have our script case defaults here, which we can save as and use these as base templates, for instance. Now these can be also again fully customized and then applied within our application, again improving the styling and layout of our application and platforms. For the menu CSS, we can customize here the menus. For instance, we can select a menu, choose new, recreate, which then recreates the menu. We can save this as any type of menu that we want, again public, project or user. And the vertical or horizontal menus, we can make basic changes here to the menu and save that, and again use that within our project. So the final option here was then the images. So we have here then also the images manager, which many of you for sure know, which allows us to manage all of the images within a script case. So this then provides us then an easy space to manage our images and insert them into our applications. This isn't really much for layout. For that again we have then the chart themes. So here again we can customize our themes within the applications for all of the charts. So here again, if I view here the SE color chart, we can see what this specific theme or template then looks like and would then appear, and then how it would look within our application. Okay, so the final option we have here is then the HTML editor template, and this is then for the HTML editor that we can place within forms, for instance. So here we can then define our own templates, customize the buttons and layout of the application or tool, which is then applied within the form application. So within this first part of this within the first part of this week's webinar, we've seen basically how we can customize our applications, the theming and styling options available to us, as well as how we can apply our own CSS styling within the applications. So we've seen a blank application, the control application and form application, and in the next video I will show you a grid application, which I will then style straight from scratch. We will then add various objects into that and customize that so it looks more towards the type of project or platform that we want to have. So thank you very much for watching part 1 of this Scriptcase webinar. Hope to see you again in part 2, and there we will then continue on with this project, and thank you for watching until next time.